Present. Arms. Ready? Two. Color guard. Secure. Go. Secure.
And now, if we could have David Leslie, the commander of the Onondaga County Veterans Council, please step forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, if Reverend Carl Clark would step forward for our invocation this morning.
Good morning to all of you, to our honored guests. Most importantly, good morning, and it's an honor to stand here before you, to all of our veterans, the men and women who have served our nation so admirably. Veterans Day, November the 11th, is a day where we gather to ensure that all of you, veterans, men and women who have served our nation, understand how much we appreciate what you have done for our country. The United States of America is the greatest country in the history of the world. And truly it is the greatest because of the service and the sacrifice of the men and women who have served so valiantly. You have bestowed and you have been the pinnacle of sacrifice and service and commitment beyond yourself. And so today as we gather here, thank you for what you have done for the United States of America. One of the greatest honors I have is serving on the Veteran Affairs Committee and as the chair of the Subcommittee on Health. You know, you hear all of what's going on in Washington, a lot of disagreement. When it comes to our Veteran Affairs Committee, it is truly a pleasure because that is a committee where there is bipartisan support, where there is an understanding that this nation owes a debt of gratitude to our veterans, and we must provide them with what they have earned, what they so richly deserve. So on Veterans Day today, thank you for your service to this nation. We have come a long way in what we have provided for veterans, but our work is not done. It will never be done. We owe you a debt of gratitude. I thank you for your service to this nation. God bless our veterans, God bless their families, and most importantly, God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Next, I'd like to introduce.
You hear a lot of people say thank you to today. And, you know, for each of us, we say thank you in a different way. One of the things that I try to do in the legislatures, you know, we're looking for tax breaks, property tax breaks for veterans, and income tax breaks, and making sure that, you know, fishing and hunting licenses are available free of charge for veterans. But those things, almost anything that we do to say thank you really is inadequate. It's a humbling thing for each of us to realize that the men and women of our armed forces daily risk and sometimes sacrifice their lives so that we can stand here in a place like this. To say thank you is, for me, not meaningless but a bit hollow. It seems inadequate. And from my heart to each of our veterans, I apologize that there isn't something more that I can do other than to say thank you. The one other thing that we can do is remember. We need to remember our missing. We need to remember our fallen. In particular, we need to remember the generation that fought the Second World War, which we're about to lose. 3 of my uncles fought in World War II. One of them is not going to be with us for very long. He was one of the first guys up the cliffs at Normandy. Took a round to the forehead, woke up in a hospital 8 months later, unable to speak, unable to remember anything that had happened. Eventually, over time, he regained his memory, but he lives even to this day with a speech impediment as a result of that. But that speech impediment never stops him from telling and retelling the stories of the men that he fought with, and the reason that he fought, the cause for which he fought, the cause for which he almost gave his life, and so many of his friends actually did give their lives, the cause of freedom. He's 89 years old, and he won't be with us much longer, but he's still telling those stories. It's important for us to remember and to continue to tell those stories even after my Uncle Ray is gone. Thank each of you for your service. As humbling and as inadequate as that is, I thank you. And I encourage each of us to remember and keep telling the stories. Thank you.
Friends and all those that are gathered here this morning, thanks for being here. It's quite a privilege for me to be here and represent those men and women of 174th Fighter Wing in Hancock Field to help celebrate this very important day in 2011 to honor those very brave men and women, those heroes of America, and to honor this great facility after 60 years. If you were to Google definition of veteran on the internet these days, you would find many different definitions. Definitions that would define those that serve and have served. Dictionary.com would simply say that defines a vet as one that has served in the armed forces, while the dictionary Merriam-Webster would take it one step further and state that it is an old soldier of long service or a former member of the armed services. As we all know, though, these attempts to define America's finest only begins to scratch the surface of those who have worn our country's cloth. They come from all parts of the nation, from all walks of life. They're men, they're women, they're fathers and mothers, they're sons and daughters. They're rich, they're poor, or somewhere in between. They're diverse and very unique in many different ways. They've been deployed to every corner of this globe to defend freedoms of many. They fought wildfires in the Southwest, floods in the Midwest plains, and hurricanes in the East. They bring humanitarian aid and assistance to those suffering both at home and abroad. They're American veterans. Whether you wear the uniform today or you wore it a decade ago, you represent a fundamental truth. The truth that it's neither the high-tech equipment nor the powerful weapons that make our military the greatest in the world, but the fact that the true strength of our military capabilities lies within the spirit and the skill of men and women who have worn and now wear the uniform of our nation's military. Each have a common thread to defend and protect the freedoms and liberties of each and every citizen of our great nation and serve our nation's flag. There is no mystery behind the success of our soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen. As with every generation, from the Revolutionary War to this very day, the brave men and women of this country's military have served honorably in the great character of our forefathers. As General George Marshall once said, military power wins battles, but spiritual power wins wars. I would like to share with you today an excerpt from one of my favorite patriotic pieces. It's a piece by Marine Staff Sergeant Earl Day. He wrote this a couple years ago in 2007, and it's called "I Am the American Flag." And I find it so appropriate for Veterans Day as we honor those who have bravely served that flag. I am the American flag. I speak from wisdom of a long life. I first felt the vigor of wind on my multicolored face when I unfurled my 13 stars over 230 years ago. I have known 44 presidents and have traveled across continents, oceans, and deserts, and on the surface of the moon. I was there when my nation was born. I was in the hand of my first president in the blood at Snow Valley Forge. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I have earned the right to speak. The right paid for freedom of speech is a price few remember or can comprehend. Most forget, but I still see in my memory those bright, beautiful young men who died for me at Pork Chop Hill, Normandy, Iwo Jima, Pearl Harbor, the Coral Sea, Okinawa, the jungles of Vietnam, and Iraq and Afghanistan. I have fought in every American battle and every war since 1776. And when they die for me, I wrap them in love and drape my honor over their caskets. Those who have died for my right to speak in freedom are buried in Flanders Field of France, in the Punch Bowl of Hawaii, in Arlington, in Gettysburg, and in many other places under the sun. I fly proudly over the graves of these places, praying that wars might end forever. I rise every morning to watch over the graves of our finest men, whose years were cut short, but whose service was longer than we can ever measure. Because of those brave American patriots, I can fly atop the greatest buildings in the world. I can stand and watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over institutions of learning and stand guard as the greatest power in the world. Stand up and see me. I am the most recognized symbol in the universe. Yes, I am the American flag. More than 1,300,000 lives have been sacrificed to give me the right to speak. I have been burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of countries I have helped set free. I have been stained, spit upon, and defiled by my detractors. Yet, there is no place on this earth that knows greater freedom than my country. I am the world's beacon of hope and liberty, and all I can say is, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Yes, I am the American flag. I am your flag. I am the flag of freedom. Veterans, you have done your duty, honorably serving our nation with great distinction. Thank you for your service.
Wow.
And may all who pass through these great halls of our Onondaga County War Memorial simply say thank you for all of your quiet courage and selfless service to our great nation. Thank you very much.